Okay, hi everyone. My name is Saushtvi and welcome back to my channel. Today we're discussing something really exciting, a book, a series that's taken Book Talk by storm, and we're discussing today A Curse for True Love by Stephanie Garber. This is the third book in the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy, and it's the second series or trilogy in this set in this universe. The first is the Caraval trilogy. So I have already talked a lot about the Caraval trilogy in my wrap-ups for December and January. I have also talked about this trilogy heavily, the first two books, in a separate video. I will link all of those down below if you want to get my thoughts on those. But today we'll specifically be discussing this book, the finale in this trilogy, and the last book we have set in this world so far. If you don't know what Once Upon a Broken Heart is about, basically the world that this book is set in is full of magic. It's very mystical, magical, and I personally like to always tell people that it gives me very Alice in Wonderland vibes, the kind of vibes and the kind of magic and folklore that exists in that world is very similar to what we find in this book, and it's super rich and enthralling and enticing to read about. In this world we have these fates, okay, these immortal beings, almost godlike beings, and some of them are even worshipped. In the first book we find Evangeline, who has recently gone through a heartbreak. The boy that she was in love with is getting married to her cousin, and she decides to go and pray to the Prince of Hearts, who is a fate, and he's known for his association with love and heartbreak. And she decides to go and pray to him because she thinks that he will understand her heartbreak and that maybe he could help her break off this marriage. That's what happens. In the first book we meet Jax, who is the Prince of Hearts, and Evangeline, and their story together, what unfolds after this. And this is the third book in the series, so I really cannot tell you anything if you haven't read this, because everything will be a spoiler. But yeah, I can tell you how I felt about it. I really love this series. This particular trilogy especially has my heart. The characters have my heart. I loved the first two books. I have shared my detailed opinions about it in a separate video, a whole video dedicated to that. So if you want to watch that, go ahead and click that linked below. And let's get into this book. Okay, spoilers. Okay, first of all, since we know how the Ballad of Never After left off, I did not see that end coming, to be honest. Her just forgetting everything and Apollo turning out the way he did. Like, honestly, up until that last part of the Ballad of Never After, I actually didn't mind Apollo. I didn't hate him. He was just like a stupid, like, poor little thing, bichara, who was there. But then that thing that he did, I was just so confused whether he, like, maybe someone cursed him to do that, or like he was being blackmailed to do that, because that felt very out of character for him. But we get the explanation for it over here as to why he did it, and he is completely, absolutely aware of what he did and why he did. And it was, wow, my hatred for him really grew. Apollo really is one of those unhinged villains who think they deserve the things that they want, and they think that the things they're doing are right. And those villains are always something to watch out for, because they don't have a moral compass. In fact, early on in the book when I was reading it, I wrote down this note about Apollo. This is what I wrote about Apollo in the very beginning. I said, it's one thing to be bad or the villain when you want something and use all the wrong methods and are aware of it. But it's another when you think you're doing the right thing, when you think you deserve greatness. You're crazy then. Apollo is the kind of guy who would rather kill the girl because he thinks that'll keep her safe. The kind who would kill her himself than lose her. And we all know how things turn out in the end, so I was kind of spot on about him. Kind of an unhinged villain, did not expect it will go there, but it did. This particular book, I know there's a lot of mixed opinions about this one out there. Some people hate it, some people love it. I'm kind of right in the middle there. This was the kind of book where I couldn't really formulate my opinion until we got to the very end. Like, it's one of those books where you can't figure out if it's a good book or not until you see how the climax unfolds. Honestly, throughout my reading experience, I was just my curiosity was just building, and it was a little frustrating, but not in a bad way, in a more of like, oh, I can't wait to see how it all unfolds. And I really was rooting for a happily ever after for these two, for Jax and Eva. because I just really grew to love them so much. They're some of the cutest couples I've read about. Their story has so much passion, and I just really needed them to be together. But also, they had some really high stakes to cross, and I wasn't sure if we would be able to do that. The way the end unfolded, I personally would have preferred if we could have had an entire face off happen with Aurora. I figured she was gonna be the one to sort of be villainized from the second book itself, from when her name was mentioned. I kind of wish we had like a face off moment with her as opposed to what we got instead. That kind of felt a little underwhelming. Also, the way the curse unfolded, that the girl has to love him in return for her to not die from his kiss, that kind of thing was a little, it was okay, it wasn't bad by any means, but it was also a little like that was the resolution all along, and it seemed a little like maybe the author like drove herself into a corner, and then she took the most out there fairy tale ending she could have picked, and I expected a little better. But I'm also seeing a pattern with like both the Carnival trilogy and this trilogy, that the third book always kind of becomes a little underwhelming, and the end unfolds in a way where you're like questioning the choices of the author. But nevertheless, because I was so invested in the characters and I was so invested in this world, that I did enjoy it, and I'm really happy that they are together regardless. So I did enjoy everything about the ending, even everything with like Apollo being pushed into the tree, and all of that was great. I just wish the way we got the resolution for Eva Jax and the arc with Aurora was done a little better. Also, I still have some questions left after the end of this book. I thought we would get all our answers, but we did not, which is a little disappointing. I don't know if it's being saved for another book or a series. I know she's writing something else, and she's also hinted at other stories coming in this universe at the end of this book, and I've read the other epilogues as well, so we're clearly having more books and on focused on other characters, and some of those questions will be answered there, I think, but a lot of these I feel like cannot be answered anywhere else. So I just feel like those are like, I don't know, loopholes, just plot arcs that were never completed, you know and I have a list of them. First of all, the question I've had since book one that I really thought we would get to at the end of this one, because we've been talking about like her and her parents and her pink hair constantly. It keeps coming up in the series, so I really thought we'd get answers to that, but we did not. Which is like, where do her powers come from? Is she really her parents' daughter? Is she Why does she have those powers? Like, clearly not everyone in this universe has powers, right? People are there, everyone's a regular person, but she has powers. Why? What is her history? Why does she have pink hair? And then we also like had this little bit of a moment somewhere in between where it was like, oh, Aurora has purple hair and she has pink hair, and she's never seen anyone else with hair this color and stuff like that. Were they connected? Like, just I like we never went anywhere with that. I hope we get some answers maybe, but I don't know. Given how the Carnival trilogy went, I don't think we'll get all the answers, to be honest, which sucks. Quick location change, I had to empty that room, and all the rooms in the house are occupied. So here we are in the study. Hope this is okay. As I was saying, all the other questions I had, Nightlinger, he seemed like he would have a bigger role, and then he just disappeared, which was a little weird. Also, that little training scene that we got like one, and then nothing. Was there a purpose apart from just like getting us to yearn for them? Like, what? Also, like I was saying, like I was talking about the ending, I wish the entire sequence with like him trying to burn his heart was not there. It was unnecessary, and it was a little like, why are we dragging this conflict out? It was just, yeah. Also, something else that I realized after that end was that Jax is immortal and Evangeline is not. So how's that gonna work out? Like, we already saw this happening with Tella and Legend in the Carnival trilogy. So what's gonna happen in this now? Like, we never addressed that. We never even thought of that in this book. So that's a little Also, what happened with Luke and Marisol? Like, they just disappeared in this book, which, not that it's a problem for me, but also, like, what happened? They're just gone. Side note, I love Lala and Chaos. Like, I can't wait for their book. I hope they get a book soon because wow, I love them together. I love Lala as a character in general, so I'd love to read about her. And Chaos's storyline is also very intriguing, so I'd love to read more about them. Also, like this entire storyline with Petra, I thought it would be longer. Like, it just kind of came out of nowhere, and we were like, oh, okay, that's what this was. And then it's like gone just as quickly, and we were like, what was the need apart from just like a little bit of like like I think that was there just for like, ooh, who's that? Who did that? That's scary. Like, just to create a little bit of more like conflict in the beginning of the book, because otherwise the book was like pretty straightforward. It was just, I don't know. After Jax put the cuff on her, where did he go? Like, there was so much like blood and stuff everywhere, right? Like, the place was in ruins. What exactly happened? We never got an answer to that. And also, like, who killed the people at the inn, right? Like, this lots of like little things that were put in there which were never explained, and it's like, then why did you put it there, you know? Like, we could have had the story without it, but now that you have put it in there, address it properly. I feel like for the vibes and for the romance, it's a 5 on 5. But as a story, I think it's like a 4, maybe. That's what I rated, because I do love this world and I love the characters. And like I've said, the world is so deep and rich. Like, I feel like she could keep writing books in this world forever. We could write, a book about each of the fates and like the fated places and the objects, and like there's so much magic, right? So much folklore that we could write a piece of story about every single thing that we've come across in this world and the story so far. So regardless, I love the world. I really love the world. And if you guys have any recommendations for books with this type of setting, please put them down below, because I'd love to read more like this. But yeah, the world is great, the characters are great, the vibes 5 on 5. Like, if you want to read a book for just the vibes of it, I highly recommend this. Yeah, I guess that's all I have to say. It wasn't disappointing per se, because I do like the climax, that the end that we had. It's just the way that we got to that end and some other unexplained things that could have been fleshed out better, in my opinion. But apart from that, yeah, good book, good series, great series. Definitely way better than the Caraval trilogy. And I think her writing is getting better and better and better. So I look forward to whatever she writes next. I definitely will purchase all of it, read all of it. And yeah, that's all my thoughts and opinions about the book. If you've read it, please let me know what you thought about it. Let's discuss in the comments. And like, share, subscribe. I would love to interact with you. So please do comment. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.